Hi everyone, I'm Kate. I'm an English teacher on Verbling, and today's class is for intermediate learners. It's about giving advice and using modal verbs, right? So modal verbs like would, could, should, we often use those, or one way we use those is to give advice. So it's sort of some grammar and some speaking applied to real world situations. So for those of you who are new to Verbling, Verbling is a language learning platform that allows you to learn a language no matter where you are in the world, right? Because there are classes available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So if you are in Brazil or in Europe or in China, right, you have somewhere, or you have you will be able to take a class at a convenient time for you. Okay. Good morning, Matteo.
Good morning, Kate.
How are you?
Fine, thanks.
Good.
Sorry. Can you call me Matt? It's
Matt.
easy.
Sorry. Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
easy. It's easy.
Yes, of course. It's easier for me. Yeah, Matt. Okay, perfect. Do people in Italy call you Matt, or they call you
No. In Italy, call me Matteo
Matteo?
because the accent right in Italy is Matteo.
Hmm.
In United States, I know Matthew.
Yeah, Matthew.
Matthew. Okay.
So for
In America Latina, Matteo. No, Matteo. No, in Germany, Matteus. In America, I don't know. Matt. I like Matt. Call me Matt.
okay, perfect. I'll call you Matt. Good to know. Um, so Matt, what do you work? You said you travel a lot for your job. What do you do?
My job. Okay. I'm my job. It's in a word real estate investment.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
And on the web, crowdfunding.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now in United States, in your country, and mm, this crowdfunding it's transformed in a real estate crowdfunding.
Oh,
Okay, for raise money on the web with no for the project real estate in United
okay.
States. It's a very good, interesting topic for me.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, we actually, I think we more often say crowdsourcing.
Crowdsourcing.
Crowdsourcing. Have you heard that?
Crowdsourcing is it's no I know I say the crowdfunding.
Crowdfunding. Okay, so different, you're saying. Okay,
Uh,
so it's crowdfunding.
yeah, this is crowdfunding, funding money,
Yeah.
raise money. Okay.
Okay, and exactly how does that work with real estate? Just out of
Yes.
curiosity. How
Yes.
does
Yes.
that work?
Sorry. Repeat, please.
So exactly, how does crowdfunding work with real estate?
Okay. From 2 years ago, I'm starting with my experience in a real estate investment in Florida, Tampa Bay. Okay.
Hmm.
And now I'm evolved on the web because I have interest in this topic, crowdfunding. Okay, and I now I have my business partner in Europe, and for create a company in the United States for raise money in Europe. Okay, and after investing with the platform web and a real estate crowdfunding project.
Okay, got it. Interesting. And so you're trying to set up a company in Florida then? Is that why you travel?
Yes. I had more company
Oh,
in
okay.
Florida. Three. I created three company,
Wow.
and this is my job. Real estate investment, web marketing. I have this interesting topic. Okay.
Cool. Very interesting. Okay. Well, let's see. I guess we'll wait for some other students to get here, and if
I'm
not,
alone. I'm
you'll get
alone.
you'll get a private class. Okay. Um, so I guess we can start talking about giving advice. So Matt, you know what advice is?
Advice, I know when I ask the consultant
Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah, you when you need help with something, you have sort of a problem and you need
for
someone,
solve problem, yeah.
yeah, to make a suggestion. Okay. So so I was going to ask you, who do you normally ask for advice?
Ooh, okay, I understand. Usually I ask the okay, who do you normally ask for advice? Okay, usually I ask the advice for my business. For example, attorney, CPA.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, in this moment, I asked advice uh, with attorney in California for
Mm-hmm.
my job, for my business.
Okay, good. So, okay, so for business problems, you're asking people like attorneys, people in your company.
Yeah.
Okay, good. And what about for personal problems? Who do you turn to for advice?
Ah, I never asked advice for my personal problem.
Okay.
Uh, I
And
don't remember.
really, okay, well that's good. And what about are there certain people that tend to ask you for advice?
Oh, sorry. This I not understand.
That's okay. Do some people, like friends or family, ask you for advice?
Yes, yes. Usually, my family, my friend ask me advice for something topic web. Okay.
Ah, okay.
On
So
the
you're
web, okay. For example, how can I doing for create a website, create web marketing for my website? Okay. Usually, my friend asked me this kind advice
okay. All right.
because they know I working in this topic. Okay.
Exactly, right. You have experience in this topic. Okay,
Yes.
good. All right.
Uh, okay. Sometimes I sell some advice for my customer.
Ah, you sell advice. Okay.
Yes, yes,
There you go. So if you're selling advice, it has to be very good advice, right?
yes, yes.
Yes.
For
Okay.
example, open a company in United States for
Okay.
different topic.
And have you ever had to give someone advice in English?
Have you ever?
Have you ever
Yeah?
had to give
Oh, sorry, I can't hear now.
Have you ever had to give someone advice in English?
Have you ever had to give someone advice in English? You asked me if I'm talking English.
Yeah,
Uh,
if you
no, no, no. In this moment, for the customer, only just Italian customer.
Okay, well, hopefully you will soon be able to give advice in English as well to your customers. Okay.
No,
So,
no, no, no.
no, you're saying
And
no?
because I learn English
No.
better. Okay.
Yes. Okay. All right. Well, okay, so to give advice, we use a grammar structure that's called a modal verb.
Mm-hmm.
A modal verb. So, Matt, have you studied modal verbs
I
ever?
don't know. I
Okay.
don't know this modal verb.
Modal verbs. Okay, so these are verbs like can, could, must, may, might.
Ah, okay, okay. Ah, this verb called modal verb. Would, could. Ah, wow.
Verbs
Can,
like
could,
can,
must.
could. Yeah, so obviously you know what these are, right? You recognized these verbs. Um, so in what context have you learned or used these verbs?
Okay. Which kind contest? Okay, usually.
What
Ah,
kind of context? Mm-hmm.
okay. I used this verb when I asked something, when
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
doing something,
Good. Mm-hmm.
when I like something. Okay?
Yeah, I think especially the first one is good. So when you ask, if you're asking for permission, sorry, you can use the verb can. Right?
Can.
So, can I open the window? It's hot in here. Right?
Asking for.
Or asking for permission, we often use can.
Okay.
Things like that. And or may I is more polite. So may I open the window? Okay.
May. It's a similar maybe. No, it's
May,
different.
it's unrelated. So is um, maybe is when you're expressing possibility,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
So will you come to the party tomorrow? I'm not sure. Maybe. So it could be yes. It could be no. It's maybe. And here,
Okay.
may
Okay.
has different uses, but we often use it to ask for permission. So, may I open the window? Right? It's a synonym of can. Can I
Okay.
open the window? May I open the window? But we can also say, it may rain tomorrow. And in that sense, it means it's possible that it might rain tomorrow.
Okay.
So that's
Can
sort of,
and may.
yeah. So can and may. Okay.
Okay.
Um, they're also used to express ability, these verbs. Ability. So this is, again, can, right? If you, so if someone says, who can speak English? You could say, I can. I can speak English. I am capable of speaking English. So they express ability. They also express obligation. So these are must, should, things like that, right? And these are when you're giving orders, right? So you must study harder if you want to pass the class.
Okay,
You
I
must
understand.
study harder. Obligation.
Yeah.
And then
No
as you,
obligation.
sorry?
It's an obligation because I need absolutely doing these things.
Yeah. Good.
Okay.
Good. And then as you said before, right, possibility. So may, might, these are things that we use when we're unsure. Okay. So,
Might. I never know these verbs. Might. It's
okay. So I'll give you some examples.
it might rain tomorrow. Uh, you might want to stop smoking so
Okay,
much.
so these are two different examples, right? In the first one, it might rain tomorrow. This means I'm not sure if it will rain tomorrow. It could rain or it could not.
Ah, okay. When I don't know what's happened. Okay.
You're not sure. It expresses
I'm not sure. Okay.
possibility. Uh-huh. Good. And then in the second one, so this is an example of a way you can give advice, right? You might want to da da da. You might want to stop smoking so much. It's a very sort of indirect and soft way to give advice, right? Instead of saying you must stop smoking, right? If you were speaking to your boss, you wouldn't say, "Hey, you got to stop smoking," right? You might say, "Hey, you might want to stop smoking so much." You sort of soften the this phrase by using might.
Okay. I'm not sure if I want to stop smoking. Okay. And I used my. Okay. Okay.
Okay. All right. Perfect. Okay. So here's another example.
New student.
Understood. Okay. Tungahan.
Hi,
Hi. How do you say your name?
Tungahan, that's right.
Tungahan. Okay.
Yeah.
Was that okay?
Yeah,
Okay. Sorry. I'm sure I'll
Perfect.
butcher the pronunciation. Tungahan. Okay. And where are you calling from?
I'm from France.
From France. Very
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Okay. Good. So I have been explaining to Matt that we're going to be obviously practicing giving advice today in class. And right now we're talking about the modal verbs, right? So verbs like can, could, would, must, might, that we use
Okay.
to give advice.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
All right. Perfect. So I have a question for you.
Sure.
For both of you. If your friend is failing a class, what could you tell him? And here I want you to use verbs like should, must, or could.
Uh, you should. You should
You can
go.
use should.
You must. It's higher. It's stronger.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's true. So imagine your friend is failing a class. I want you to make a suggestion to your friend using a verb like should, must, or could.
Mm-hmm.
So for all three of you.
We could say you must go to school, or
Yeah,
you mustn't fail your school.
so yeah, that's good. You must go to school. You must go to school. Good. Or any others? What about using should?
We could say the same. You should go. You should go to school.
Absolutely, good. And as you said, one is simply stronger than the other. Very good.
Yeah.
You could also say something like you must or you should study more.
Mm-hmm.
If you study more, maybe you won't fail the class. Okay.
Sorry. What is the last suggestion?
I said if you study more,
Yeah.
you might not fail the class.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, good. All right, and so AK Ken, you've just joined us.
Yes, hello.
Hello, how are you?
Yes, I'm fine, thank you.
Good.
How are you?
Doing well, thanks. Okay, have you been following along?
Probably the advice for failing exam.
Okay, yeah, no problem. So essentially, we've just been talking about the modal verbs that
Mhm.
we're going to be using to give advice. Okay.
Okay. Mhm.
All right, and so one important thing about these verbs like can, could, might, must, would, is that they're strange verbs. They're unlike other verbs. They don't change their form, and they don't have an infinitive or a participle. Okay, so they sort of just remain as they are. You'll never see, for instance, woods. You'll never see woods, right? It's always simply would. Or you'll never see two wood. Those don't exist, right? So these infinitives, these different forms, like in the third person, when we add the S, it doesn't happen with the modal verbs. So just an important note. Okay. All right. So specifically, today for giving advice, we're going to focus on these verbs and structures. Okay, so we have have to, must, must not, had better, should, shouldn't, would, wouldn't. We have the structure why don't you. We have could, couldn't, might, might not. Okay, so these are, most of them are modal verbs, but then we have some extra structures like why don't you, right, which obviously doesn't have a modal verb in it, but is used for giving advice. So I want you to look at these verbs that I've just pasted in the box and decide which ones are the strongest. So which ones are for suggestions and which ones are for obligations. And I want you to try to put these verbs or expressions in order from the strongest to the least strong.
Okay.
So in order from the strongest to the least strong.
Just Caitlin, I can see the models. I just can see your on the screen. I can see just your picture. You know.
You can't see the verbling box.
No.
Okay, here. I'll post.
I don't have a computer. It is an iPad.
No problem. Here, I'll post them on the in the chat, in the group chat. Can you see that?
I don't know. Actually, I'm new. It's my
okay.
it's my second conversation group.
Oh, great.
Just
Okay,
can
well,
see the participants.
you should be able to see the group chat, the Google chat for the Hangout, because I've had other students working on iPads.
I can. I have I have a chat now.
Okay, great, perfect. So those are so I want you to put those in order from strongest to least strong.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Have you already put them or not?
In the chat.
Yeah.
It's not in order,
I
no.
don't have anything.
Oh, you don't?
No.
Okay, let me try it again. In the group chat.
No, I think it's not a group chat. It's like all of my conversation with some people, you know. I just can read. I just can read. Mikhail participated in this hangout. Victor and Ali, you know. Not for this one.
Oh, okay.
Just Matteo, Aka, and I.
It should come up. Let's see.
I can try to send you a message, maybe.
Yeah, try to send me a message.
I did it.
Okay, I don't see anything.
You don't?
No. Okay. Let's see. Maybe on Google Plus.
Anyway, I can write them.
Okay, yeah.
You said have to, should, had better, must.
Yeah. So we have to, must, had better, should,
Should,
would,
could,
might,
may,
and then why don't you?
and why don't you?
All right.
Okay.
Okay, so Matt and aka Ken, have you had time to think about the order? Ah, okay, you
Yeah.
were. Okay, great.
And I'm not I heard hard better has a negative connotation, so it's can be strong, so I'm not
Mhm.
sure.
Okay, good. So, yeah. All right, so let's look at this first. So we have must, must not, have to, had better, would, wouldn't, might not. Okay, yeah, almost perfect, aka Ken. Very good. So
Mhm.
you're right, had better is
Mhm.
often used like parents, an example. So if
Mhm.
a parent uh, is trying to criticize a child or prevent a child from doing something, they might say, "You'd better not eat too many sweets before dinner." Right? We're using it to try to prevent an action. So yeah, it's usually sort of uh, we're saying it to someone um, anticipating a negative behavior on their part.
Almost like command. Sounds like command.
It's almost like a command. Yeah. It's
Okay.
similar. Okay, good. Oh, good. Hi, Shafar.
Hi teacher.
Hi.
Hear me?
Okay. Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes.
Great. So we're
I'm okay.
okay. Yeah, no
No
problem.
problem.
Okay. Yeah, no. So we are.
I still I still don't know the problem chat.
Okay. All right. So we are just putting the verbs for giving advice, which you'll see in the verbling box, in order from strongest to least strong. Okay. So all right. So let me just respond to Mena. Okay. So the order for the strongest are have to and must, right? These express obligation. And then, as AK Ken said, we have had better, right? This isn't quite as strong as must or have to, but it's quite strong. It's very strong, right? It's almost an obligation. Then we have, um, wait, I think I have them in order already. Okay, I think I sent them to you in order. Okay, so then we have should or shouldn't, should or shouldn't, right? You should do this. So this is expressing obligation, or not obligation, it's more of a suggestion. It's a strong suggestion. And then we have would, then we have why don't you, then could, and then might. So essentially, by accident, I gave them to you in order. Okay, so I made it easy. So a few things. Um, so would, when we're giving advice, does anyone know how we use would to give advice?
It would be nice you can go there with me.
Okay, yeah, so that's one way. It would be nice if you came with me. Okay, that's one way. There's another way to use it that's a bit more typical.
Ah, would you please something?
Okay,
Would
also
you
good.
please?
Would you please or would you mind?
Uh-huh.
But those aren't for asking advice. Those are for giving sort of they're making requests, right? Would you mind helping me with this? So you're not really giving advice in this situation. Here, the way we give advice, excuse me, the way we give advice is using a second conditional sentence. So if I were you, I would, da da da. Right? So we're saying if I were in your position, This is what I would do. Okay? All right, so questions about this?
What is the difference between why don't you and why don't we?
Okay, good. So why don't you? So if you are speaking to one other person, you'll use why don't you, right? So imagine your friend is gaining weight, right? They're gaining weight and they don't know why. You could say, why don't you see a nutritionist? Right there, you're just making a suggestion to one person. Why don't we is used, it's often used to make a suggestion, but for plans. So if you're with a group of people and you're on a vacation, let's imagine, you could say, why don't we stop for lunch? Or why don't we take the train to wherever, right? So there you're making suggestions, but more often than not, it's used in that specific situation when you want to suggest sort of a plan of action for the group of people that you're with.
So in the group, maybe, so for example, if I want to go lunch with that person, uh, I would say, why don't we go lunch?
Why don't we go to lunch? Yeah.
It's better than just say, why don't you go lunch?
Yeah,
It's
because if you said, why don't you go to lunch to another person, it would imply that you think this person should go without you.
Okay, I got
Right?
it.
So if I said, Ken, why don't you go to lunch? Right? It would be like, I want you to go, and I don't want to go with you.
I see. I got
Okay.
it.
All right, good question. Okay, other questions? Okay, so now we're going to practice using these modal verbs to actually give advice. Okay, so let's do an example scenario together. Okay, so imagine I have a friend, John. Okay, and John has a problem. He is failing school. He's failing school, and he studies very hard. He goes to all of his classes. He works hard. He does his homework. He shows up to the exams, but he simply cannot understand, right? He gets nervous before tests, and he does poorly on the tests, and as a consequence is failing his school. What advice would you give him?
Me, teacher.
Okay, go ahead.
Maybe why don't you going to uh, advisor or
Good.
advice education? Yeah.
So why don't you go to your advisor? Good. Okay, some other advice.
I say to you, Kate, please, could you try help my son, for example,
Okay,
uh,
good. Yeah,
for learning better
okay.
school? Could
Okay.
I use the could?
Yeah, okay, so you can ask someone else to help that person, right? So could
Mhm.
you try to help my son? Okay. All right.
I would,
What about, okay, go ahead.
yeah, I would say you shouldn't be sad because uh, you did all effort and you should try again.
Yeah, okay, so you could say because you did your best.
Yeah.
and you can try again.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so it's kind of like cheer up. You shouldn't be sad. Very good. Okay, what about with must? If we want to give an extremely strong piece of advice to my friend John.
You must go to your advisor to counsel your problem.
Okay, good. To counsel your problems sounds a little bit strange. To get help with your problems.
Okay.
Yeah, you must go to your advisor to get help with your problems. Perfect. And what about using would?
Would. I said, John, would you like
Using the structure, the second conditional structure, so that if I were you.
okay. Would asked advise teacher for learning better school lesson of school.
Okay, so for instance, if I were you, oops, sorry. If I were you, I would ask your teacher for advice. Something like that. Okay, good. So again, when we use this structure, the if I were you, we're saying I'm imagining that I am in another person's shoes, right? And I'm saying what I would do in that situation. Okay, good. Any questions? Okay. Actually, let's do one more. What about with might? How can we give advice using might?
You might try again.
Yeah.
Or
You might try again, or even more common maybe is you might want to try again. You might want to is a very common structure that we use. So specifically in this situation, you could say, you might want to get a tutor. You might want to try again, as you said. You might want to ask your parents to help you study, whatever. Okay, good. So, so now I'm going to introduce some imaginary problems to all of you, and I want you to give me advice. Okay, so I'm going to introduce some problems that I am having, and I want you to give me advice and try to vary the modal verbs that you use. So I don't want everyone to use you should, you should, you should, right? I want you to try to use different ones and really try to experiment with these different structures. Okay. So, aka Ken, I need your advice on something.
Okay.
Okay. My neighbor's dog won't stop barking, and it's driving me crazy. What should I do?
Why don't you introduce a dog trainer to that neighbor?
Introduce a
Dog
dog.
trainer.
Okay, good. Why don't you introduce a dog trainer to that neighbor? Okay, good. I like that. Good advice. Matt, I have another problem. I'm bored of my job.
Sorry, bored.
I'm bored of my job.
Okay.
You know, these verbling classes and the weird students that I meet, I'm just tired of it.
Okay. Could you Going in a spa for relaxes.
Okay. So you could. Like, so
Sorry.
you could.
This is a sentence, not question. Sorry.
Good. Yeah. No.
You could go in the on the spa for relaxes. Okay.
Perfect. Yeah. So you could go to a spa to relax. Okay. And obviously that was a joke. I love my job. Okay. Perfect. Good advice. Okay. Shafar. I
Hey,
I
what's your
let's see.
problem?
My problem is I don't feel confident speaking English.
Huh? Okay. My advice is you might be more practice than usual. Maybe 1,000 times a day, like
Okay.
that.
Good. So you
Yeah.
might you might want to practice more.
Yes, practice more. I mean.
Perfect. Okay, good. So you might want to practice. Okay.
Yes. I think that advice for me, not for you.
Good. Fair enough. Okay, let's see. Tungan. How do you say your name again?
Ngahan. That's right.
Tungan. Okay, sorry. I
That's
feel like I'm so bad at pronouncing other names. Okay, Tungan. I want to exercise, but I don't have enough time. What can I do?
oh, you want to exercise, but you don't have enough time. Um, you should take a rest, or
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good. You should take a rest. Mm-hmm. But what if I say I don't have time to rest. I'm busy.
you don't have. Why don't you? I'm gonna try this one. Why don't you? Or you might organize better.
Okay. Yeah, to organize your schedule better.
Yeah.
So you might want to organize your schedule better. Okay, yeah, that is advice that I like. I think that's good advice, right? So again, we often say when we use might, we use you might want to. It's the most natural, most common way of using might.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Good. All right, aka Ken, I have another problem.
Okay, how may I help
I
you?
forgot my boyfriend's birthday.
Mm-hmm. You might give a belated birthday gift.
So you might want to give him a belated gift.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I did, and he's very unhappy still. He's very mad at me.
You must recover your relationship.
You must recover your relationship. Okay, good. Okay, good. So you must try to save your relationship. Okay, good.
Yes.
Good. Okay, Matteo,
Okay.
I have problems falling asleep at night.
Falling.
Fall asleep is, so essentially my problem is that I want to go to sleep, but I
Okay.
end up thinking about so many things and I lie awake for hours, right? I can't fall asleep.
Okay, you can't sleep. Okay.
Essentially, I can't sleep, yeah.
Okay.
What should I do?
Okay. Mm, you must go on a doctor.
Okay. You must go to a doctor.
To a doctor.
Go to a doctor. Okay, good. You must go to a doctor. But Matt, the problem is that I know that if I go to a doctor, they're going to say, here are some pills, at least in the US, is the
Okay.
tendency. They're going to
Okay.
say, here are some pills, take these and you'll sleep like a baby, right? But I like to be more natural. I don't want to take pills, things like that. So I don't know if I want to see a doctor.
Okay. You don't like doctor. Okay.
I
And
don't,
pills. Okay. And
uh,
I said you advise you could try take I don't know, say the words not chemical pills,
like
but
herbal
natural.
yeah. So we say natural supplements.
Uh, you could
You could try taking natural supplements.
yeah, supplements. Okay.
So like the herb things, right? They're made of like different herbs and vitamins or whatever. Okay. All right, I'll try that. Thank you, Matt. Shafar, um, I don't
Yes.
I don't have many friends. I don't have
I
many
don't have many friends. Mm, my suggestion is mm, why don't you going to the um, to in the field maybe, or maybe we join in an organization in your school or maybe in your city,
Okay, a lot
things
of
like
things.
that.
Good. So, for instance, why don't you join an organization to meet people, right?
Yes.
Good. And
Right.
Shafar, one thing, after why don't you, we use the infinitive, not, there's no a, right? So why don't you join? Not
Why
join.
don't you join?
Okay, good. Perfect. And Tunghan, uh, my last problem,
Sorry, your last what?
my last problem
Oh,
is that I can't seem to save my money. I spend
oh,
all of my money.
you spend all of your money. Um, you must control your depense, or you'd better to buy less thing.
Good. You must control your, I think you mean your expenses.
Yeah, expenses. That
You
depends.
must control your expenses.
Yeah.
Or you'd be, okay, here's actually a different structure for giving advice that we haven't talked about. You'd be better off,
You'd
and
bet.
then what did you say?
Okay.
And what was your advice?
The second one was you'd better to buy a less thing.
You'd better, okay, sorry.
Buy
You'd
less.
better buy, not to buy. You'd better buy
You'd better,
fewer,
so you'd better
okay?
buy. Can you
Fewer,
repeat?
yeah.
Fewer? Yeah, fewer. Okay.
You'd better buy fewer things.
Yeah.
Okay, but if you said, so one curious thing, so less and fewer, native speakers confuse them all the time. So there are certain instances where we are supposed to say fewer.
Mm-hmm.
Grammatically correct is to say fewer, but native speakers almost always say less. So what you said, speaking, is fine, right? But just
Okay.
technically, it should be fewer.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. So I've giving you a lot of examples of different problems that you might ask people about for advice, right? And now I want you to think of some imaginary problems and choose a classmate and ask that classmate for a suggestion. So who has an idea of a problem that they would like to ask their classmate for advice about?
I can try.
Okay.
I need to ask to someone.
Yeah, so choose someone to ask.
Okay. I can't see the name, I'm sorry. Yeah, Aka. Aka, I would like to improve my English, but it's a bit difficult from France.
Good. So what should he do?
What
No,
do you,
good. Perfect.
how can I improve it?
Good. So AK Ken.
Okay. Why don't you take a class, as many as you can, and yeah, that could improve your English skills.
Good. Excellent. Why don't you take as many classes as you can? That could improve your English skills. So, Tungan, do you think this is good advice?
Yeah, this is good advice, I think.
Okay. All right. Good.
Thank you.
All right. So,
You're welcome.
I want you to think of an imaginary problem or a real problem and ask one of your classmates for advice.
This question is for me?
No, for another classmate.
Oh, okay.
So, okay, Ken, what's your real or imaginary problem?
Yeah, I was thinking same question, but anyway, a different question. I it is rainy season here, so it is rainy every day. Uh, how can I live comfortably in rainy season? Do you have some advice?
Good. And who would you like to ask?
Okay, so for example,
Okay.
Shafar, sorry.
Good. So,
I'm
Shafar,
sorry. What's your problem? I just
can you repeat the question, AK Ken?
Okay, it is rainy season, so it's it is rainy all day, and so how can I spend rainy day comfortably?
yes. It has trouble. Maybe you might be at home all day or spend or making an activity in your home, but don't like that. Maybe you ought to you had or maybe you had better take vacation in other country which is doesn't have mm, bad weather. Does that make sense, Africa?
Yes, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. Okay, and again, Shafar, a lot of advice. Very good. I heard one structure that I think we should share. You said maybe you ought to, da da da, right? So you ought to, or maybe you ought to, is another way of saying, like, why don't you? Okay, or you should. So, very good. Okay, so Shafar, what's your problem?
My problem is uh, mm, let me think. Maybe it's
Oops.
Okay, he left. All right, let's see if he's coming back. Let's see. Matteo, would you like to ask someone for advice? Or sorry, Matt, would you like to ask someone for advice?
Okay, I imagine
Imagine a problem, yes.
a problem. Okay. I might want take a gift for a girl,
Okay.
and but I don't know I what I buy
Okay,
for she's.
for her. Okay, so you want to get a gift for a girl, but you
Yeah.
don't know what to buy her.
Yeah.
Okay? So so why don't you ask Tungahan for advice?
Give me
Okay.
give me an advice.
Okay.
What should I do?
My advice will be you should ask to anyone because I'm not good in this situation, but you could ask to your friends entourage or for your girlfriend, you said?
No, no, no. This is not
He said
my
for a
girlfriend.
girl.
It's a girl. I like this girl, and I.
Uh, you could check online or you could go to the store department and ask of them, or yeah.
Okay, good. So Matt, do you like his advice?
Mm,
I don't have.
I don't know.
He's not
I
sure.
don't know.
Okay, well, I thought it was good advice. You could check online at, a gift guide from a magazine or something
Ah, I don't know. I prefer other things.
for other things. Okay. All right, fair enough. Okay, good. So we are running out of time. Any last minute questions or comments? I know we spent a lot of time on these modal verbs. Are they all clear? Do you have any doubts about how we use them? Okay, so one problem that I saw that I think I tried to correct when I saw it was that after some of these structures we use a gerund, right, the ing form, and after some of the structures we use the infinitive, always without to, though, right, or almost always. So for instance, with you have to go, you must go, you had better go, uh, you should go, you would go, why don't you go, you could go, you might go. There were some structures where we needed to use the gerund. Anyway, it's just making sure that if you're using the infinitive, you're not using to, right? You're just using the infinitive by itself. And you're almost never using the gerund, right? We can't say you should going. It's always you should go. Okay, that was my one comment. But otherwise, all of you gave some great advice. So thank you very much for participating, for listening. I hope you learned something, and I hope to see all of you again soon.
Thank
Okay,
you.
so have a great day.
Thank you, you too.
You too.
All right.
Bye.
Bye, Kate. Bye, bye, Kate.
Bye.
See you.